Oh, hey there! I just wanted to make a little video because I had a really cool call with someone on the phone the other day. A quick consult call ended up being about an hour. It was a business person who owns a couple of different businesses, and two of the businesses that he owns are the same, but they're in two different provinces, so they're far away from each other. And basically, he every year sits down and he does some planning as to what he wants to do for the coming year. And he looks at all the options for all of his businesses, and he wanted to talk with me about the idea of selling his business that is in the neighboring province. And I, basically asked him all sorts of questions, but it came down to two questions about this potential selling of this business. And I basically asked him, why do you want to sell? And he had opportunities to use money. That was number one. And number two, it took a lot of his management bandwidth, a lot of his time. So, we went through briefly the whole idea of selling it and sort of did a back of the napkin calculation of what the business might be worth, what the terms of sales likely would be, and how much money he would end up with if he tried to sell it, and is that enough to accomplish his other goals or opportunities, etc. But when I started asking him about the personal reasons for getting rid of this other business, what kind of time or bandwidth does it take up for you? He started to explain to me that sometimes every day there's something he has to deal with in that other business. Now, I had spoken with this entrepreneur before, and I knew a little bit about his history, and I knew that he was a senior level vice president of a large corporation, and would have had many managers reporting to him when he was back in the corporate world. So I asked him, I said, how many managers did you supervise when you were in your corporate job? And he said, quite a few, sometimes 5 or 6. And I said, were you stressed out and had no time then? And why were you able to manage 5 or 6 managers in your executive role, and you're having difficulty and are stressed out by managing one manager now? And it's a great question. In fact, he wasn't able to answer it, so I had to prod him a little bit more. And basically, it comes down to something that is fundamental in the book EMyth by Michael Gerber, and it's the difference between entrepreneurs and technicians. And even people who know how to properly manage and be entrepreneurs sometimes need a little bit of coaching and a little wake-up call to get themselves back on track. When he was a corporate level executive and had many managers beneath him, he would manage by numbers. So a person reporting to him had a certain role, and they had targets they had to meet, and he let them work at that. And he probably reviewed their numbers every week or every month. And when there were problems, he would outline expectations and give them support and help if they needed it. But he let them do their job. So in big corporate enterprises, what you see is a delegation of responsibility. In small businesses, what you typically see is not a delegation of responsibility, but a delegation of tasks. So the owner is so busy he can't do everything, but he still wants to make all the decisions. So I pointed this out to the guy. I said, you're interfering in the work that the manager has to do, and they're not making decisions. They're not doing everything they could do because you're always getting involved. So why are you managing in this fashion today, where before, when you worked for the big company, you didn't do that? Again, why? What's the difference? And what I think, and this is from my own experience in observing so many small business people over the course of time, is the difference is it's your money. When you are the executive at a big corporation, some person that reports to you, they might make a mistake that costs $10,000. And while it may affect you and may affect your bonus or something by having an impact on the numbers for the year, it's not your $10,000 they lost. It's the company's $10,000. And I think it's that level of detachment in the big corporate world that allows these big corporations to actually function, because people will actually delegate responsibility and not be so concerned that any little mistake is going to cost the individual within the corporation personally. Now, in a privately owned small business, it's totally different, because if he let that manager do their job and they made a decision that lost $10,000, they just lost $10,000 of his dollars. And that's the difficulty. So I think it was sort of a breakthrough with this guy, and he realized that what a lot of people do is that there's never a good financial reason to sell a profitable business. You can never get for a good profitable business what it is worth to you. That's why people who sell small businesses always do so, because they have a pressing personal reason. The numbers never quite make sense. You always at the end of the day go, geez, well, if I just kept it for another 2 or 3 years, I'd have the same money anyway, right? So that's why you have to have a personal motivation to actually pull the trigger and do a sale. So he's going to work on himself over the course of the next year and try to actually delegate responsibility to his manager in the other province, and try to manage the way he used to back when he was an executive. I thought it was a really great call. If you would like to speak to me about some of your business deals, or talk through a decision, or pick my brain and do a quick consultation, I'm available all the time. The easiest way to get to me is at clarity.fm/David Barnett. Anyway, until next time, talk to you later. Bye.